In this week's episode, I sit down with Ellis Davies, who is an absolutely phenomenal runner. He grew up swimming competitively and transitioned into running because he wanted to take a step away from the competitive nature. And then he's since then has transitioned back into the competitive side of the sport. And it's been an incredible journey to follow along with and watch as he's progressed. I can't even begin to list his achievements and his running CV, so you're just going to have to listen along to find out more about him. But we talk a lot about what it's been like to transition from non-competitive running into competitive ultra running, and how he's dealt with the struggles that's brought along with it, as well as the mental health side of things and the pressure that he puts on himself and how he's trying to manage that sort of pressure within. That's something that I know a lot of people struggle with, so this is definitely a good episode to watch, and it links in very nicely with my 6 and 6 challenge, which we talk about on the podcast. And as you all know, I'm doing this for sport in mind, so I'm just going to play a little bit about what I'm doing and why, so you guys can learn a bit more about that now. Hi, my name's Will, and I'm going to be running 6 ultramarathons over 6 consecutive days, and I'm doing this to raise money and awareness for sport in mind. Now, this challenge is really going to push me to my limits. I'm going to be running over 230 miles with over 8,000 metres of elevation across the 6 days. I've never done anything like this before. It's something that's really helped me with my mental health, not only through physical activity, but it's been the community that it's brought with me. So at the start of 2020, I was made homeless. I slept on a mixture of the streets and my fire service sofas, for a period of about 6 months. Now, when I did finally find somewhere to live, I broke my ankle and I spent the next 6 months not able to put my foot on the floor. And after that, I had to relearn to walk, run, and complete any sort of physical activity again. This was a massive hit to my confidence and my mental health. And unfortunately, it led me to suicidal tendencies and ideation. So I really do believe in what Sport in Mind are doing. The fact that they embody both the things that I believe in, which is sport to improve your mental health, and building community and safe spaces for people to not just talk about their mental health, but feel a part of something, know that they're not alone. And that honestly can be one of the biggest factors in improving someone's mental health. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get more support and awareness around my challenge. If you'd be able to support in any way possible, please reach out to me. I'd really love to hear from you. And just before the podcast starts, I want you to have a little listen to our friends over at Soulmate, who are kindly supporting the podcast. So take it away, Paul from Soulmate.
We're Soulmate. Whether you're new to running or an experienced runner, we've got you covered for both road and trail, from shoes to nutrition to running poles and everything in between. Use code ADVENTURE10 both in-store or online for 10% off your order.
And with all that being done now, welcome back to the Adventure Athletes podcast. What was your call to adventure?
Call to adventure? Yeah, I think really, I was trying to think about this. It was kind of a lack of adventure that was sort of what brought me sort of into trail running and stuff, you know. I moved to London for university when I was 19 and, then just did the uni thing and then graduated and was just working. I was working as a journalist at the time, and it was just pretty mundane. Go to the office every day, come home, do the usual thing, go out the weekend, go out the evening. And yeah, I sort of started running to get fit and lose a bit of weight, because I was a swimmer as a sort of a kid and a teenager and into my early 20s. And then I'd stopped that and just stopped sport altogether. It was just nothing. Yeah. And yeah, so I wasn't in great shape, but I just started, in the gym, on the treadmill, trying to lose a bit of weight. And then through just Googling things about running, really just trying to how do I make this feel better? Because it feels terrible. I sort of discovered the world of YouTube ultra running. It's people like Harry Jones or Dan Whitehead and the Ginger Runner and those kind of people. And I was just like, what is this? And it was just kind of this mix of, fitness and performance, but also this adventure and exploration, this kind of quite free feeling sport. And that kind of hooked me. I got really obsessed with like these YouTube channels, and I just like watched everything I could while just like running on the treadmill in the gym and going. I wouldn't even allow myself to run outside. I was just like, well, I can't run. I think at the time I was like, if I can run 10k on a treadmill, then I'll go run outside. I don't know why I decided that. I just did.
Such an arbitrary number. Just
Yeah.
10k and then outside running.
Exactly. And when I think of that now, I'm like, why would I pick 10k? 'Cause, like parkrun's 5k. I mean, you can go run nothing, 500 meters outside. It's fine. But for me, for some reason, I was like, I will graduate from the treadmill at 10k. No idea why. And yeah, so I just kept building until I allowed myself outside. And then it was kind of about exploring where I lived. So I lived in South London at the time. And I sort of felt that I basically knew where my house was and the immediate vicinity, the train station, and where I went to work. And then when I started running, I discovered all the back streets of everywhere and how, this place led to that place. I discovered how to like run to Greenwich I was in Catford, and then I could get to Greenwich and run around the parks in Greenwich. And yeah, so that was like the adventure there. And then I moved out to like the North Downs, realised I could get trains to the North Downs or drive to the North Downs, and then started like, trail running on actual trails, which is great. And then I would come home to visit my parents. I grew up in Pontypridd, and they still live in Pontypridd. And I knew the area. I'd gone camping in the hills when I was a kid, and all like the usual stuff you do. But I'd never really thought of about it that much. And then when I started running, I was like, oh well, I know there's trails in Ponty. I'll go and do those when I'm home. And I discovered so much more about where I lived and where I grew up from, not until I was in my late 20s, really, and I grew up there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of became the push for trail running for me. Was like I could go and see places, I could discover things, I could enjoy being outside. And that's sort of where it started, really. And I did enjoy the kind of, as I got a bit fitter and a bit more comfortable being in places, it was then, well, now can I explore what I can do with this? Like, can I be better than I am now? And there's a bit of adventure for me in performance. It's like, can I explore like the reaches of like, how fast I can go, how well I can climb, bits and bobs like that. And coming from like quite a heavily involved sport background when I was a kid, like I started with like, football and rugby as kind of standardly, but I was also swam at the same time, and the swimming was the big one for me. That stuck until my early 20s. But that was sort of club swimming, national team swimming, like competitive, the 10 training sessions a week, that kind of vibe. Actually, it's kind of funny being in Tonnereville because I used to train at Tonnereville pool a lot. I've spent so much time in that pool. So like that was kind of always in me, and I kind of pushed it away once I stopped. So I just didn't want to do competition anymore. Didn't want to think about performance or how well I was doing at something. But then, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, I've started to drip that back in and allow that to be something I think of again, which is cool. And so it's kind of an adventure in that respect as well. Yeah.
I always see the two things that like I bring together with adventure athletes as very different things. And it's so hard making them work, because on one side you've got like the adventure, like if you think about people that do adventures, you think about like this wild person, they're really spontaneous, they go out, do like these crazy things.
Yeah.
And then you've got an athlete who's like super structured.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
They're focusing on like the minuscule things of like, what's my diet like? How's my training? How's my sleep? How's my recovery? And they're just like these opposing forces.
Yeah.
And it's like bringing them together somehow works.
Yeah, it does.
And that like it's obviously like a scale. You've got some people more down the adventure side, like I don't care how fast I run. Like I look at like most of the people that do like a 200 miler aren't looking at like I'm gonna win this race. They're like that is an adventure.
Yeah.
And then you look at people that are like competing in 5Ks, and it's like they're probably wanting to win that.
Yeah, definitely.
But like you got that whole spectrum. But then when you bring it together and you get someone like you who does these ultras and looks at the performance, I just think it's like an incredible thing. Yeah,
man, it's cool. I mean, when I started, part of the appeal of ultra running was that kind of like taking the competition out of it. It was like, I'm not competing against people, I'm competing against the course and like finishing. And that was really appealing at the time. Like I said, I'd spent so many years like competing in swimming, and I was always very hard on myself I still am probably my own worst critic, and I'm quite bad at beating myself up for things. I'm a lot better than I used to be. Tried to work on that, but particularly when I was a teenager and so on, it was all consuming. It's all I wanted to do, and I would just berate myself if it went badly. So I didn't want to slide back into that. So I'll just be in the way they are. Were kind of perfect. It gave me this thing to work for and discover without having to worry so much about like, well, that person's faster than me, or I'm not doing it the same as this person, because it was just like, this distance is the mountain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's what I'm trying to get over, is like, can I run 50k? Can I run 50 miles, 100k? You know, so on and so forth. So yeah, that was part of the appeal, really. And yeah, it took a little while for me to start drip feeding the competitive stuff back in, which has been nice. Bit scary at the time, but I think kind of getting a balance now. Yeah. So
when did you start drip feeding it? Like, what was the first moment where you was like, oh shit, like I can compete in this?
Yeah, I think it was probably, so I did the Arc Patrician 100 miler in 2023, I think. Yeah, it's been a few years now. I think it was 23. That was my first 100 miler. It's still the only 100 miler I've finished. I've attempted 3, I've finished 1. The other 2 were the UTS 100 mile 2 years in a row, and that thing just both times chewed me up and spat me out big time. Yeah, it's a bit of a white whale, that one. So yeah, I did the Arc, and I kind of went in with this sort of estimate of about 28 hours for a finish, knowing that, because I don't know if you know the medal system for the Arc is they have a black buckle, a gold buckle, and a silver buckle. So like black buckle is sub 24. And then gold is 24 to 28, and then above to the cutoff, which I think is 36 hours, is silver buckle. So I was like, I want a gold buckle. I'm not, that's my first 100 mile. I'm not going for 24 hours. It's not going to happen. Let's go middle of the bracket, 28 hours. And I did it in 24:20 something, which, you know, I was really, really pleased with. But I got to the end thinking, I've undercooked this. Like I mean, I don't feel great. I've just run 100 miles, but I feel okay. And I've definitely held back, and I've not pushed myself to the extent that I could. You know, I hung back at the start and got kind of caught. If anyone's run the Arc, they'll know that you run out of places called Coverack through the town, and then you hit the trail, and suddenly these roads become this one single track trail. And if you get caught, there's a gate as well. If you get caught, you queue basically to get onto the track. So I just stood in a queue for like 20 minutes. I had like a 25-minute K or something, just because like we stood at a gate in the first couple of Ks. And I felt that I hadn't been ambitious enough, and that I could have got more. And that kind of, you know, it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I was still super pleased because I run 100 miles and that course is amazing and it's a great race. I was like, oh, I could do better than this. Let's not do that again. I'm going to try and push myself out, put myself out there a little bit and race, like, you know, be competitive and think about it. Like, what could I possibly do? Not what is safe, what's achievable. It's like, what is possibly not achievable? And if, you know, if I kill myself off doing it, like, you know, go out too hard and I have to death walk something in, then fine, but at least I gave it a go. Yeah. You know? And that was kind of the change, that was the turning point for me then. So I think I went from the Arc to UTS 100, which is maybe 2 or 3 months later, and I DNF'd that. So I went a bit far on that one. I think I just didn't appreciate what that race was going to be, and the heat as well. I'm very bad in the heat. Still haven't cracked it. That's a puzzle piece I'm still working on. But yeah, DNF'd that. But I came out of it thinking, I feel really fit. Like, I've done a lot of work for it, put a lot of mileage in, put a lot of climbing in. I was like, I feel good. What can I do now to bounce back? I wanted to bring myself back. And the Vogum was maybe 4 weeks later. And I was like, right, I'm going to do the Vogum. With that mentality of like, right, I'm going to push this now. I'm going to put myself out there, take a bit of a risk. And yeah, that's the first ultra I ever won. It was the Vogum in 2023 with a course record, which I'd never done before. Never had a win, never had a course record. And yeah, I just sort of just gave it a go, to be honest. I went out at a good speed and just, kept it. I almost imploded on the road section through Barry because I'm rubbish on the roads. And I don't know if you know Neil Dent and Henry Drake. They do quite a lot of the Pegasus. I think they're both good road runners, and I knew they were both good road runners, and I was like, they are gonna get me. Like, they're on their way. I think Neil had run like a 2:35 marathon that year, or like a month before or something, and I was like, yeah, okay. So I feel like I was running scared all the way through Barry. But yeah, so that's where it started really, and I just kind of like pushed on from there. And every race, I like to go out a bit quick, potentially a little bit too quick sometimes. But it kind of puts me in the frame of mind of, right, I'm out here now. Let's do my best. Just give it a go. Yeah.
What does training look like for someone that's trying to not only complete an ultra but win?
Yeah, it's changed quite a lot over the last few years. I think I don't have a coach or anything. I think I'd probably quite like a coach just to like somebody to back up what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's just not a thing I can do for myself at the moment. So I kind of settled into this idea of quite high mileage for me. So like in blocks going into races, I like to do about 100 miles a week, as much as I can, really. I mean, sometimes life gets in the way and, you know, it happens. But and sort of within those 100 miles, I do quite a mix, really. I mean, now that I live in Brecon now, which is brilliant for being a trail or ultra runner because, you know, Central Peaks are right on my doorstep. I mean, it's 8.5k from my front door to the top of Pennervan. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'll just do up and down, and that's a good 17-ish k. Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky there. I mean, I can do that on a long lunch break if I plan it in properly, and yeah, so it's great. And so I'll do, you know, a fair amount of hills, lots of easy running. I quite like double days, so I'll do. Yeah, so maybe like a mountain run in the late morning, lunchtime, and then in the evening it'll be like a little trot along the canal in Brecon or like through the lanes, kind of like super easy, just like chilling out. So yeah, that's kind of the bulk of what I do. But then I've kind of gone down this route of the sort of the 80-20 approach, where 20% of the training is hard or like fast. So I do now do sessions. It took me years to do sessions because I really don't like running fast. Like it's another reason I like ultras is that it's like moderately difficult or fast for a long period of time. It's not just like slamming it.
Yeah.
I just hate that feeling. I hate how you taste metal in your mouth and it's just like it's not. I'm not a 5k guy. I can't stand it. But I have forced myself to do it over the last few years. And it has made a bit of a difference, I think. You know, sort of structured speed sessions, threshold work, tempo work. I do a lot of it on the treadmill, mainly because it stops me from sort of zoning out. So if I go and try and do threshold reps on the canal on like a flat surface, I'll get distracted by, I don't know, the scenery or like people coming past me, or my mind will wander and I'll, without realizing I'm doing it, the pace will start to slowly creep away from me, and I'll have suddenly lost 5 seconds, 10 seconds per k. But if you're on a treadmill, it is going that speed, and if you don't go that speed, you fall off. So, and it feels quite a more active decision to like reach forward and like bring the speed down. So I won't really do that. Whereas as I do it on my own, I'll just sort of drift away and forget about what I'm doing. So yeah, that's me trying to like, you've got to do this session. You go to the gym, we'll do that, and that's all you do. So yeah, it's kind of, training really is hills as much as I can, and then flat, fast running either on the treadmill, or I do occasionally do tempo runs on the canal to try and keep speed or build speed, because I think that's an area that I've lacked because I just never pay attention to it. I think as a lot of people do when they get into ultras, they just say, I'm just going to go out and run for X amount of time, X amount of miles, and you just sort of, which I think, particularly when you're starting, that's like it really works. You know, the more you run, the better you get.
Yeah. But
then I think it comes to a point where you then need to like put the sharp end in, as uncomfortable as it is. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. Really, it's fairly bog standard, and I've got my list of sessions is very short. Got like maybe 5 that I just like rotate around. So yeah, quite But the nice thing, I mean, the ones I enjoy the most are obviously the hill runs and the long runs.
Yeah.
So I mean, as much as I can, I will do a long run every week. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work and it'll turn into a double, depending on time. But yeah, those long runs are always, they're the best bit, really. You know.
Do you have sort of like set paces and stuff that you sort of, or like a pace range that you're like, right, even on my longer runs and my hill runs, like this is where I kind of want to be because that's like my race pace almost, or is it more like I'm just going to get out and run however I want?
Yeah, they're a bit more focused now. It definitely just used to be just go by feel and just like chill out, particularly on a long run. I use heart rate quite a lot these days. So I wear heart rate chest strap on the treadmill and a band on my arm outside, just because I used to wear the chest outside, but when I wear a pack with it, got some very bad chafing, so that no longer happens. Yeah. So yeah, heart rate zones really. I mean, if it's easy, it's going to be low, like zone 1, zone 2. I mean, very rarely getting above 140 BPM on an easy run. For the long runs, I try to keep it sort of below zone 3, maybe a little bit going into zone 3, the occasional zone 4 if it's a particularly steep climb. Kind of try to mimic race effort, sort of 50k-ish effort. Where it's not like, I'm not blasting it, but I'm not going for like a Sunday stroll. It's kind of in the middle. And it's nice. I think it makes it feel a bit more fun for me. I feel like I'm moving well. I feel like I'm clicking along at a nice pace. And yeah, so like those things, the long runs have become a little bit more focused, maybe over the last year. Yeah, I think it's helped actually, because then when I do go and when I'm racing, I've got this idea of like, I know what that feeling is. Yeah. I'm a bit more familiar with it. I mean, usually I'm going to be going longer in that race. So like say in my long runs, we'll usually come out to about 30k. Sometimes I'll go up to 40, very occasionally up to 50. But if I'm training for a 50k and I've done some 30k long runs at about that pace, then, you know, that's 20k less. So it's not like I'm blitzing myself. But then if I've got to do the extra 20k on top of it, then, you know, it becomes the race effort. So yeah, and it's hard to look at a pace bracket when you're doing different types of terrain and different climbs. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is, I run the same loops quite often, or like similar, so I'll know what section will usually take me and what kilometer split I might get at a certain point, or how long a climb usually takes me. So like I know roughly if I'm having a good day or a bad day. Basically, if I run Pen y Fan from my house, I know by the time I get to the top what that time should roughly be for a good day. Or if I'm feeling tired, it'll be about this time. And so I've kind of got those little markers in my head. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of, not necessarily pace zones, but yeah, heart rate I find really useful just to like keep an eye on things, particularly on climbs as well, like steeper climbs. Because I do quite like to run climbs if I can manage it. I mean, sometimes, particularly in longer races, if you're doing a 100-miler, it's not the best idea to run all the climbs. Like you can run some of them, but not all of them. But certainly a 50k, I would usually try to not walk a single step on 50k. Yeah. Which is fun. I think it's well, maybe I'm weird. I really enjoy running up steep stuff, like the Pigham. Have you done the Pigham?
Not yet. 7 weeks time.
Yeah,
I'll come back to you.
That's got. You've probably heard from other people like the nasty surprise at the start of the Pigham is the Blorange.
Yeah,
which is just like, boof. But I love the Blorange. It's just this horrible, massive climb, and it's straight away, and so yeah, stuff like that. I just really love just like getting stuck into it. I think I've got this image in my head when I run steep climbs, like, you know, the little the vertical train that goes up Snowdon. That's the image. I'm just this little train, and I'm just chugging up a big climb. But yeah, on stuff like that, you know, if my heart rate gets up to like, I don't know, 170 or something, I'm like, all right, we've gone too far now. We need to stop. We need to walk. But if I can keep it in that zone 3, you know, slightly below threshold pace, then I'm happy. I'll just chug away. Yeah. So.
No, that's awesome. I'm really like interested in that performance side of ultras now. Like now that I'm coaching people that are running ultras, and they're starting to be like, well, I want to push for a time or like a like beat my time from like last year or whatever. Now I'm like, right, how can we do that while also knowing that you don't like doing the faster sessions like you're saying, and
Yeah.
like how can I keep the adventure alive for the ultras while also being like, no, we need to do the athlete stuff.
Yeah.
So finding that balance, I'm finding like really difficult with clients.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I really need you to do this tempo stuff, but you just want to go for these long runs.
Yeah, it is tricky. And I mean, I feel exactly the same. I don't want to do my sessions. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to, not right now because my training's a bit iffy right now because of I've had a bit of an injury for a few weeks. So right now I'm not enjoying the tempo and the threshold stuff because it's not quite as fast as it was maybe a month ago, which is, it's never fun. But I kind of got to a place where I'm almost like, I walk into the gym and I'm like, right, this is what we're doing. Can it be better than last week? Can it be, can I push this a bit more? And there is enjoyment in that, in a slightly, painful way. But I think I've always kind of enjoyed that. Like when I was a swimmer, I enjoyed training, and you do so much of it. I mean, race is like, it is what you train for, but it is a very small part of the experience. The majority is the training. And I think if you can love the training, then you'll perform well because you've enjoyed that build up and you've really lent into it. Even if it is, running on the treadmill, doing a tempo session, there is enjoyment in just that, the push and the feeling sick and, worn out and wrecked. There's something quite nice about it. But at least for me anyway, I think maybe it's because I sort of grew up doing it. But yeah, I kind of love it. But then for me, I have to have the mix. If I have a week of training where maybe I've been really limited on time, so I've just done canal runs all week and tempo or threshold sessions, I get to the end of the week and my brain is fried. It's like, I cannot run on that canal anymore. I'm not doing it. And then I have to go and do some sort of long run, or even if it's just like an up and down Penavana, up and down cribbing, I just need to go to the hills in some way, shape or form. And for me, that's kind of what makes it doable, is that mix of terrain and the mix of types of runs. And it's just so like revitalizing to go into the beacons, or just even like, the hills, whatever you are really. I mean, one of my favorite loops that I've done so many times, when I moved back from London, I first went and lived back in Pontypridd for a couple of years, and there's a loop from Barrysiding Park. It's a loop up through the forestry. I've run it a million times. It was like my go-to loop, but I still love it. Like every time I visit my parents, I'll go for a run up there because it's like one of my favorite loops. Yeah. And it's not really anything special. It's just a forest trail that goes up the hill and down the hill. But it like completely refocuses my brain, and all of a sudden I can go and do those threshold things again because I've given my brain what it actually wants. It wants the forest, it wants the mountains, it wants the hills, it wants that freedom. And as long as I sort of feed that in alongside the hard stuff, then we're okay. Yeah. But it will throw a wobbly otherwise.
You do need that balance. I always tell people, like, because everyone just assumes that I love training because it's my life. That's all I do is I train.
Yeah.
I've built my business around training. I've built my whole life around me being able to train like 15, 20 hours a week. And everyone's like, you must really love training. And I'm like, I hate training. But I love what it lets me do. Like, I love being able to turn up and run an ultra, or go out and do a high rocks, or go to like a powerlifting competition. I love being able to go and do these things. Yeah. And I'm like, if I didn't train, I couldn't do that.
Exactly,
so just suffer through the training. So like, although you don't like your tempo sessions,
it's
like, well, I like turning up and racing an ultra, but you got to do the tempo then. Yeah,
exactly. No, it is what it gives you. And I do think that, like, I've had loads of sort of that feeling over the last couple of years where I've been on a run. I'm just like, I'm so happy that I've done the training that allows me to do this, to like be in this place. Like, I had quite a lot over the winter because I was doing, runs in the beacons and there's snow on the ground and it's freezing cold. But I'm just thinking, I'm up here because I've put all the work in that makes me feel confident to be able to get up this hill in this weather, in these conditions, and have the confidence and the knowledge to think I'm okay. Like, even though the conditions are bad or whatever, I can get off this hill. I know how to do it. I'm fit enough to do it. And it just gives you that ability to experience places you maybe wouldn't experience otherwise. Yeah. I really love that about it. It's the access that training can give you to places, particularly with trail and ultra, because they are held. We do these things in such amazing places, but you kind of earn the ability to be able to do it, to be able to access those places. Because it's great. Yeah,
you go to some really remote places on these ultras, even like the 50Ks. Like, you can find yourself in the arse end of nowhere.
Oh god, yeah, very easily. No, it's it's just one of the best things about the whole of it is just where you get to go and being able to get there on your own feet by your own power. I think, I really love that about it. I mean, I've done a lot of like run commuting in my life. So I used to run commute when I lived in London, but more recently I went back to college and retrained a couple of years ago up in Talgarth, and I was living in Hay-on-Wye at the time. So I would run to and from college in the day, and it was 15k each way, or like through the lanes, or I could come over the Black Mountains to come back, which is obviously the best way to do it. But like that was my training 3 times a week, was about 30 to 35k a day, where I got myself into college, I did my work day, and then I ran home over the mountains. And I was just like, I love that I can do this. It's just I don't want to have to go and get in a car and drive down the road. If I can spend an hour plus in the mountains every day, and it's productive. It gets me to where I need to go. It's a brilliant feeling to be able to, like, I don't know, use running as transportation. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's something about commuting via under your own power that gives me a particular kind of joy. It feels like I'm sort of cheating the system a bit. But
it's a good way to do it, because like I think, well, I can speak from my experience, but like I get so caught up in just like the rush of life, and I'm like, right, so I'm going to sit at home, I'm going to get all my work done here, and then I've got like 10 minutes or like 15 minutes drive to work, and I don't live that far away from work, so I'm just like, I could run there, and I keep telling myself like I'm either going to start running or cycling to work, and I just never do, because I'm always like, oh no, like time, and then I'm like, well, I've got to run anyway, like that's my training.
Exactly.
So like, why not just do them both?
That's kind of always what I think about it. It's like, well, I'm basically just doing the training now in a period of time that I would have to spend traveling anyway, so I might as well. You're kind of saving time, sort of. It doesn't feel like it in the moment, but later on you are. And like when I started doing it when I lived in London, it was just because I realized that I could run to work in the same time it took me to get there on the tram or the tube or whatever. So I was like, why the hell am I getting on this tram if I can run there? Like, why am I like being crushed in like a sardine if I could just run about? I've always really enjoyed that. It's pretty good.
So from the Vogum then, winning first ultra, setting the course record, how did it sort of progress from there? Like what else have you achieved since?
Since then. Well, that was kind of the Vogum was the start of me doing a lot more races nearer home. I'd always been somebody who like travelled for races or did them around the country. Mainly because when I started, I lived in London. There's not there's not really a place to be doing trail and ultra. And then I kind of had this feeling that I was like, well, I run around here all the time anyway. I should go explore other things. But yeah, after I did the Vogum, I was like, South Wales is great. It's a brilliant place to run. Why don't I like race around here a bit more? And I love the Vogum so much. Like, Pegasus is just a great event company, and like the support is always brilliant, and it's just like a good vibe and nice people, and I just really enjoyed it. So I kind of was like, right, I'm going to do more local races. So I think from then, well, I can't remember what I did that summer now. I think I did the OTT Ultra back in 2023. That's October, isn't it, or November?
November, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that.
I was there for that one.
Oh, 23 one, yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. So I did that. So that was another win. And I'm not sure what there wasn't a course record. They've moved it around a bit, so I don't actually know what the. I think I chatted to, I can't remember the guy who runs it now. He was like, "Oh, we've moved it like 4 or 5 times, so we're not entirely sure." I might be wrong there. But yeah, so I won that, which is great. You know, just really fun. And then, God, I'm forgetting the course of events now.
There's too many.
Yeah. What did I do after that? Oh yeah, and so into 2024, did the Brecon to Cardiff Extreme, which was the first running of that. And yeah, that's a really fun course. I really enjoyed that because it's just, you know, big set of mountains and then kind of like rolling valleys kind of stuff all the way into Nangaru. And it's this bolting together of the two sort of training grounds that I've had. So I've got like the Brecon Beacons and then sort of the South Wales valleys, really like sort of over towards like Llanwonor Mountain and up Eglwysillin and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was another win. I think that's now the course record now that there's been multiple editions of it. It was the first one. So, but yeah, that was cool. I loved that. Then I had another run in at UTS and got beat up again because that race hates me. No, it's just very hard and I've just not figured out how to hydrate properly in the heat at that kind of exertion. And yeah, it's something that I'm still working on. I've had sweat tests done and something. It's like, it's a bit of a building block. Yeah, and then I did the Pigham, I think, last year. First time. Loved that race. Like I said, I love the Blorange. So it's this big, just nasty little climb straight off the bat. That was really good fun. I think, yeah, so that was another win, course record, which I've got a feeling that's going to go this year, though. Because I know this guy called Ellis Davies lives up near Llangors, I think. I raced a part of a race with him a couple of months ago, but I think he's nursing a bit of an injury, so I think he dropped on that one. But he'd won the Pigham the year before, so I had this time to go for. I was like, right, I'm going to... But I remember looking at it and thinking, that's a solid time. That is going to be interesting. But I did get it. But I think he's running it this year, so I feel like he's going to take it back, which will mean then I'll get the itch to go back again. Although I love that race, actually, so I would like to go back, but I'm not sure I can manage it this year. Yeah, and then I went to the Roseland August Trails in Cornwall, which is run by Mud Crew, the same people who run the Arc in the August, and which is 100k. Starts at midnight, out and back on the coast, on the Roseland Peninsula in Cornwall, and yeah, went super well. Got the win there, and so last year that was also the British Trail Ultra Distance Championships. Okay. So technically, I won the British Trail Championships over the 100k, but trail running is such a disjointed sport that that doesn't necessarily mean anything, you know, because most people, if you ask them what's the World Championships of Trail and Ultra Runner, they'll say UTMB or Western States, or there's bigger events in the UK, like UTS is bigger, maybe like Lakeland or the South Downs Way 100, that kind of thing. So you take that with the pinch of salt, that win. But it was a great win, I mean, it was quite important to me as well because I'd started winning things at home in Wales, which is great, and I'm really happy to be doing that. But I think Lee mentioned this when he was on your podcast a while back. He said that somebody said to him that he's a big fish in a little pond, and I kind of had the same feeling. I was like, I'm winning at home, which is great, and I'm loving it, but I'm not branching out. I'm not finding out what I can do in other pockets or a wider field. So it's really nice to go to a different race. The Rats had good fields over the years. I mean, people, Dan Lawson's won it, Ellis Bland's won it. I think Damien Hall did on the 50 a couple of years back, and some good names. I mean, I don't think it was the strongest field of the year won it. I was just happy to be up there, just somewhere else. And yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I think I then wrapped the year up at Celtic Ultra. Got second there. Had a brilliant race though. This guy called Ellis Parry from North Wales. Brilliant runner, really nice guy. We just had a really lovely time, to be honest with you. Just it's really nice to be out there like pushing. We were both pushing pretty hard, but very like friendly, super chatty, just like having a nice time. And you just broke me on the big climb up at about the marathon. He just sort of scampered off in the distance, and I was like, I am cooked. But yeah, that was cool. So I've turned this into a long list now. I didn't mean to that. But yeah, so this year, I've kind of been sort of building that competitive, getting a bit more confident, starting to feel like I'm getting somewhere. And sort of the big result so far this year has been the Beats the Blacks 40 back in March. So I picked up the win there in what I think is a course record, because I think they've changed that a couple of times as well. But the big thing for me was Damien Hall was on the start line for that one. And yeah, I managed to get the win despite that, which was a surprise. Damien Hall is somebody I look up to quite a lot and always have in ultra runner. Ultra running is a big deal in the UK scene. Now kind of mostly specialised in the long stuff. He's won the Spine race, has various FKTs, including the South Wales Traverse around here. And yeah, it was just really cool to like run with somebody of that like caliber, and someone you've like just like listened to on podcasts and read their books and all that kind of stuff. I was a bit like trying to be cool about it. I hope I was cool about it. And yeah, so we ran the first loop together, had a good time, and I sort of managed to build a little gap after the halfway, and it held. I was just convinced he was just going to turn up at some point, because it's just the kind of runner he is, has got great legs, can just keep going forever. And thankfully I managed to bring it in like a good time. I was really pleased with that, and just kicked my ear off really nicely. And yeah, so I've just been building from there really. Yeah, I think that's a wrap up of the last couple of years. Sorry, I was a bit laborious, but yeah, I think really it's kind of, I've managed to like turn my approach from complete to compete, I guess, and it's worked out quite well so far. I do feel like I said with the big fish small pond, like I love racing locally. It's great, I really enjoy it, but I do feel like I need to start trying other things as well, and I'm trying to drip feed those in. So this year the idea was to build up to the 14 Peaks Ultra, which is in North Wales. It's next week. I don't know if I'm going or not currently because of the injury I've had. But that is the qualifying race for the GB Trailer Mountain team for the World Championships in September over in Canfranc.
Oh, nice.
And that was kind of the big audacious goal of the year was, I mean, obviously make a team go to the World Championships is amazing. I would love to do that. I don't necessarily think I'm in a place to do that, but I wanted to just go and do the qualifier and just see where I am. Like, yeah. I think, the people who are going to race that are people aiming for that team. They are going to be focused. They're going to be pushing for the team. I want to be in that field. And it's a bit gutting that it might not be happening now. But that's kind of the attitude I've been trying to like foster coming like through the last couple of years of racing is be a bit more ambitious, be a bit more, take some risks, maybe look a bit silly if, you don't quite make it, or you don't really look silly, but you know what I mean? Be a bit, be ambitious and just try. Because it's kind of scary to try. The idea of failure isn't a nice one. Nobody likes to, sort of fall short of their goals and nothing. But if you don't have a go, what's the point of having goals?
Yeah.
If you're not going to at least try to get them. So that was the goal for this year. Not sure what's happening, but just sort of been building towards that really.
Yeah. It really sounds like you've like taken on that sort of risk that you're saying, but you've achieved so much because of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you hadn't tried and you're just like, oh yeah, like I did the 100 miler, I'm happy with that. Like I'm gonna keep just turning up and doing these ultras and like doing okay in them. But like, now that you're pushing yourself, it's like, oh well, now I've got this long list of wins.
Yeah.
And you might not hit this one that you was aiming for this year because of injury, but I'm sure you're going to do a lot of other incredible things.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Just for trying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is that switch is just, and this was kind of what I was scared of when I sort of made the decision to like, right, I'm gonna give this a proper go now, was that I'd lose it would infect the running, is like this, like the ambition or the competitiveness would infect what I'd built as this thing that's really important to me and honestly really important to my well-being. Like I'm not great if I can't run. It really affects me, and it's this place of like serenity in a way, I guess. It just gives you, it's just space. Running for me is this space that I have that tends to improve most moods or issues that I have. It gives me time to think about things. It gives me time away from things. It's just very important overall. And the idea that I would infect that with competition and negative feelings because of, maybe something hadn't gone the way I wanted or something, it was pretty scary, to be honest with you. And, I do have to try and bring it back sometimes and be like, no, like everything's okay. Running is more than the competition to you. It's, it's kind of fundamental to a lot of my life now. Yeah. And I think I'm a very different person to the person I was before I started running. I think it's just given me loads to be honest with you. And it wasn't like it didn't fix all my, it doesn't fix all your issues. Like it's not the cure to anything, but it helps. And it gives me at least the space to work through things and just have this place that is for me and for me to work on the other things that are going on in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah. Just really tried to preserve it.
Have you had any moments where you've sort of taken it too far to the sort of athlete side and been like, oh, like I'm not enjoying this now, I am just pushing myself? Or have you managed to find the balance and keep it there?
Yeah, it's tricky. It does. You can fly a little close to the sun. Not so much in racing, but in training. I mean, I am quite bad, again, a little fixated on the number. So like I said, I like to do 100 miles a week, and if that is slipping away from me during the week, I started to get a little bit of a spiral going sometimes, and I do have to try and remind myself, it's like, it'll be fine. It is just a number. Like you're not gonna, your world's not gonna fall apart because you do 10 miles less than you want to do this week. Like it'll be okay. Yeah. But it happens because I'm just getting pretty focused on the training sometimes, and that is because I know there's a goal. I've set myself a goal. I want to achieve it. I am quite a competitive person by nature, even though I've tried to like push it down for a little while. And I can get to points where I need to take a step back and be like, and have a little bit of a word with myself, to be honest with you, and just be like, it will be okay. Like don't ruin this because you're having a week where you have to do 10 miles less. Yeah. It's just, but it's hard to do.
Is there a way that you can bring yourself back? Like, is there anything you find that helps? Like, if you do anything like journaling or?
Usually I just need a little bit of time. Like sometimes what I actually need to do is to have a day off, really. I'm terrible at rest days. I don't take that many. I quite like to do them on sort of like a fortnightly 10-day kind of rolling period. It's usually when I'm like, I haven't had a rest day in a while. Maybe I'll have one now. Or it's during a week where, I don't know, my brain is not being very nice to me. I'm not very nice to myself. And my partner will pull me up on it as well, which I think she can tell when I've kind of fried my brain a bit by training too much, thinking about running too much. And sometimes I just need to just call time on it, like, day off. I have a day off today, things will be better tomorrow. And it does work. And it's hard to pull that cord sometimes because it's like all time. I'm quite bad at being like all time could be training time. But that does not work. That is not productive. So yeah, that's one thing, is just a rest day. I think, people take rest days because they're like, I needed my body to recover. you need to take rest days to let your brain recover as well. Like running is physically demanding, but it's also mentally demanding, particularly when you're trying to put, like 15 hours a week plus in. That's a lot of focusing that your brain's trying to do. And so, yeah, sometimes it just needs a rest day. But other times it's go for like a run that you really love. Just go do a route that is nice. Really chill out on it. Like take all the idea of pacing, blah, blah, blah. Just throw it out the window. Just be like, this is I think to my partner, I refer to them as soul runs. Like I need this run for like my soul. Like this is not training. This is like, let's sort myself out kind of run. Just very easy in somewhere I love. It'll usually be, in the hills, the Central Beacons or something, and just try and drink in the scenery rather than just passing through it. Like, stop, take some pictures, maybe like, be a bit more like haphazard with it. Like I've got a little drone that I do social media stuff with. Sometimes I'll take that out with me just because I'm like, well, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like I could stop and fly this drone out for 20 minutes. Like, make it fun, make it a bit silly. Just try and take the pressure out of it. Yeah. I think that's kind of the two ways I tend to try and bring myself back a little bit. Just remind me, like, ultimately you're just running around like you did when you were a kid. It's slightly daft. Let it be a bit daft. Don't take it so seriously. Yeah.
I always say this about sports is like it's all made up. Like all the rules that we're on about. Like someone sat down and just been like, well, I like this idea. Like this is how I want this thing to be. And it's like, okay, that's how it is. And it's like, well, why does it have to be like that?
Exactly.
And like I used to coach gymnastics, and you do get in this pattern. Like when you're coaching like elite level stuff as well, it's like you're always like clawing for more. And then sometimes you do just have to remember like you're just jumping about off things at the end of the day, and you have to like dress a certain way and you look ridiculous. And you have to do these things that the judges tell you have to do, and they change the rules every 4 years. And then it's like these aren't like there's no scientific like this is the optimal way of doing it. It's like no, this is how we think makes it look good. And it's like okay, so that we're just going off what looks good for you. Yeah. And it's like oh yeah, like that is a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you think about all sports like football, you're kicking a ball into a net.
Exactly. Like, it's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game you played on the schoolyard when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just in general, I think we do need to remind ourselves of that, me included.
Yeah, I think some people are really great at it, and yeah, I kind of envy that a bit because whilst I can do it, and I do in like running up a hill is running up a hill, and it's just like this silly thing that you do. But yeah, I'm bad at taking it seriously. But I think some people they appear to just like get the joy out of it all the time. And yeah, I can do that, and I do that. I mean, I love it. But the danger of taking it too seriously rears its head reasonably often. And I guess that's the trade-off when you're trying to like sort of drill down into like sort of performance and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was the same when I was a swimmer. Like, I swam because I really enjoyed it, but then it became very serious, like as kind of like a kid, really, like as a teenager. And I still loved it, and I loved that it was serious, but it was still hard work. Yeah. And it made it that little less enjoyable in the long run, and it didn't really come up. Well, I mean, I got a lot out of it, obviously, but I didn't become a professional swimmer or anything. No. So it's not like, which is tough to deal with sometimes. I think that lingers in the back of my head as well. But yeah, and I think maybe part of that was maybe I took it too seriously when I was that young. I was very serious about it, like really, probably annoyingly serious actually. Yeah, my poor parents just like drag me around everywhere and just me be like really bloody minded about it, and like, yeah, not happy about losing, not even necessarily happy about winning if it wasn't in the right time. It's just a thing that I just took massively seriously. And I think I kind of ruined it for myself in a way, because I was too focused on this idea of being successful at it. And you need to rein yourself in sometimes. I mean, as a kid, you don't know better, really, but maybe I should have just lent into the being a bit silly sometimes. you know. But yeah.
No, I think I'm definitely more on the serious side of things. But then I coach more on the lighter side of things. So I find that quite a weird dynamic, because then people are always like questioning me, being like, oh, but you're not like this, Will, like, why should I? And I'm like, just don't be like me, please.
As I say, not as I do.
Yeah, like I was chatting with my friend who I'm coaching at the moment, and she was asking if she could do 2 strength days on one day, just because she wants to get them like done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not productive at all. And then she was like, didn't you do 3 sessions today, Will? And I'm like, that's me. I know it's not productive. I know I'm not doing things like I should. And I'm okay having... I find it funny because I'm okay having worse results because I'm training more. And people really struggle with that, because they're like, surely you want the best performance. You don't want to like overdo it. And I'm like, no, I just want to push. I like that feeling of pushing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily care too much about the result. Like, I like being able to do stuff. But it's not like I'm like, right, like my whole goal is to like win everything. Like, I want to turn up and do everything. And I like just pushing, like, and seeing how far I can push in training. Events, they're just there.
Yeah.
Extra motivation to keep pushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like trying to explain that to people and be like, you come to me for performance, I don't come to me for performance. If I wanted to perform, I'd get another coach. That would be my thing. Like, I would never coach myself. Yeah. If I'm really trying for something.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I've had to like kind of do to myself. Because again, I'm probably maybe a little like you. I love the training. I like pushing. I like sort of finding that edge in training. But that edge isn't always a good thing to find. Yeah. I mean, particularly, if you're going up to a race, like, I hate tapering. It's the worst. It drives me mad. I think I convinced myself I have a cold. I convinced myself I have injuries. I convinced myself I've lost fitness because I didn't run. I haven't run the last 12 hours. Like, it's all nonsense. And that is where having a coach would be super helpful, is because they can just be like, would you just calm down? Like, everything is fine. I'm in charge. Listen to me, and we'll sort it out. Yeah. And when you're your own coach, that's hard work, because you're the one who has to talk you down inside your own head, which is, it's just a difficult argument to have. Yeah. But we do it just about.
I mean, you're doing well.
It's going okay.
Based, like, from the outside looking in, you're doing well.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I know it's not always as easy to understand what's going on internally for someone. Because again, like, from my experience, like, people look at my performances and the things that I'm pushing for, and they're like, "You're doing really well," and then I'm looking at myself and I'm like, "I'm not doing that good." Like, for me, I'm not doing that good. Whether that's like I'm not hitting the performance I want, or just like mentally, like, I'm like, I haven't done all of my sessions and I'm like stressed about that, or maybe I have done all my sessions and I'm burnt out, or maybe I'm just like feeling down and I just don't want to do it, and I'm just like, like, you're seeing the outside, but like, what's going on in your head? Like, you're seeing like that battle of like, no, you need to calm down. Oh, actually, I want to push more, but should I be pushing more? It's hard to deal with. Yeah,
it happens a lot. Like, I think my partners will be so fed up with these conversations, but particularly when I'm a little like overdone, I've overcooked a little bit, and I'm feeling super tired, and I'll be sat on the sofa, like in kit, shoes on, the whole shebang, and I'll just be like staring at the floor. Good, I just don't want to go. I feel terrible. This is awful. Blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff you say, and she'll just sort of sit there and be like, "Do you think maybe you need to take a run off?" I'm like, no, I can't take a run off. I need to do the distance. I've got this bit of time. I've got to do this amount. And like, sometimes I will catch myself and be like, okay, you need a rest, because I'm spiraling at that point, and that is a surefire sign that I've overcooked it a bit. This needs to move to another day. You need to chill out. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I just go, and on the run I'm like, no, I should have done this. This is a bad idea. And I recognize it sometimes, but sometimes it's sometimes you just the mist descends and it's just like tunnel vision, go. And it's not the healthiest, and I do recognize that, And I do. I'm a lot better than I have been at certain points in my life, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird battle because you think that I think quite a lot of people, and me too. When I look at like elite athletes, I'm just thinking they must be just like so focused, and they must have this confidence, and they know what they're doing, and they're in tune with their body, blah blah blah. But I don't think everybody is as much as you think they are. I think everybody probably has these like hiccups and these, sort of conflicting narratives in their brain. I mean, even I was listening to a podcast the other day with Hayden Hawkes, who's an incredible runner. Won CCC last year, and he's injured at the moment because he's overtrained, and he knew he was doing it. I listened to in this podcast. He was saying, "I knew I was overtraining. My coach was telling me I was overtraining. I ignored him, and I did it anyway. And now I'm injured, and I think I'm stupid." and you're just like, but like even somebody like that who's a professional athlete, really, really successful, obviously very disciplined. Even he's had that issue. It's something that everybody has to everybody deals with.
Yeah,
and it's just a fine line, and it's hard. Yeah.
I always I'm massive into I say I'm massive into it. Like I don't watch it ever, but I'm massive into the culture of basketball.
Okay.
And just the training that goes on, and the mentality of basketball just seems so intense that I'm just drawn to it. So I love watching the Jordan documentaries. I love watching things about Kobe. And what I'm seeing is you've got them guys that obsess and take it to the athlete side of things, and it's this isn't about enjoyment. I don't care how I feel. I'm training 4 times a day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get every little drop out. And that's sort of what's looked up to. It's look at the dedication these guys have when you're looking up to elite athletes, and you just assume that that's what you have to do to get there. But then I look at people like LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal, and they're just no, when it's off season, it's off season. I'm not going and training.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting up at 4 o'clock. Are you crazy? And it's they're still up there.
Yeah.
They're still amazing. So it's it's not necessary to do that.
No.
But just everyone's just wired that bit differently, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there's so many ways to do it. I mean, particularly in ultra running, there's so many different theories or training theories, or you've got some people who are doing crazy mileage, 200-mile weeks plus, which is, I mean, I like a high mileage week, but that is bonkers. I just don't know how people do it. But then you've got some people who are doing, 60, 50 miles, elite performers who are at the top of their game. And the range that you see in ultra running is wild. I think it feels like still quite an underexplored sport, particularly in terms of training theory and stuff, because there's just so much that seems to work. There is no this is the way, this is the way. It's it's just such a broad spectrum, which is really interesting. But it means when you're trying to come up with your own training, it's well, what do I do? Yeah. Which is where coaches come in. But if you're not in the position to be able to go through coaching, then it's just I just read and listen to as much as I can.
Well, even with coaching, like you're saying, it's so under studied that it's we only know what we've experienced and what's worked for us in practice.
Yeah. And
I've got a completely different coaching to a lot of different coaches.
Yeah.
Because I'm drawing from experience from loads of different sports that I've coached, and a lot of strength training, and they're drawing from I've done athletics, and this other one's just done marathon training, and we're all drawing from different things, and you're saying so many different things work. So even we're well, what do we do? And when clients question us, obviously I've got my reasoning, this is why I do this.
Yeah.
And it will make sense to some people, but then other people will be well, I've done this before and that worked. And I'm oh, that's great. I try and learn from that if I can. Sometimes I'm just I want to stick with what I know works for me. But even as coaches, it's confusing.
Yeah, there's just so much.
I think it's only the past, even the past 5 years where ultra running has really been a competitive thing, where there's enough people in it now doing it that it's oh no, we can race this and we can start pushing.
Yeah.
So it's all on the cusp, I think.
Yeah, there's been such a leap over the last few years in terms of performance at like the top end of the ultra running. You see every time you watch a major race now, like whether it be UTMB, Western States, the course records are going. There's been like a step, I think, whether it's like evolutions in training theory, evolutions in fueling. I think it's quite a big one. But yeah, it seemed to have taken this jump. It's not kind of this like, I feel like ultra running for a long time had kind of like the dirtbag image to it, which I quite like as like a thing for ultra running, because back in like the 2010s, it was that sort of like just go out in the hills and just do a lot of miles and just rock up on race day in a pair of shorts and just go. But now it's getting more meticulous, and you've got people really drilling down into the science and the theory of it, and it comes with the more attention that's maybe being paid to it, and like the money that's coming in. Sponsorship has kind of gone up, and people can make, very few people make a living out of ultra running, but they exist. And I think that's just pushed the whole sport up that little bit. And now you're getting people who are running 100-milers at like specific paces and have a whole plan, and it's no longer like just see what happens. It's becoming a sport of science in some ways, which is interesting. Bit scary sometimes.
Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
Oh, it's quite hard to say. I mean, I find it super interesting. I just think anything that like sort of elevates the sport in terms of both performance and kind of like exposure is great, because for a sport to succeed and be get more people doing it and stuff, you need the exposure, and I think that's great. And I think it brings more people into the ground level as well, because they see it's out there. People, bigger races are on the news or crop up on social media. I think like the Cocodona 250 last month, like that blew up so much. I think I've read somewhere that their Instagram got like blocked. They couldn't post like captions or anything because Instagram determined that their account was a bot, because they were gaining followers at too quick a rate, which is crazy. Like for a 250-mile race in the desert, like. But yeah, they're blowing up, and people are really seeing it now, and it gets people in more at the ground level, which is great because it's a brilliant sport, and it gives you so much. One of the things I love about running is ultra running. Really, is it provides you with this community. It provides you with amazing places to see, and gives you, I don't know, ambition, like something to focus on, something to aspire to, something to make you feel good and to sink your teeth into. It's this great sport, and I really love that it's getting out there more and more people know what it is. It also makes it easier when you are an ultra runner to explain what it is to people, because it's still slightly I think you still get like sort of confused looks for like people you work with or somebody who haven't really heard of it. It's just sort of like, what? It makes that conversation easier. And on the performance side, I think it's pretty cool. There is a danger of it loses its like mystique, or it's like, that dirtbag image, or the romanticism of it when it becomes too scientific. But then part of me, I quite like some of that stuff. I kind of like some of the fueling bits, and I like a bit of training theory. So for me, it gives you something extra to like dig your teeth into and work with, and it's only going to elevate everybody's kind of performance. I mean, even kind of like the feeling you get while you're running. I mean, if you fuel properly, that run you're doing, that ultra, is going to feel so much better than if you're underfueled and bonking and like nobody wants to death march something. Like, I think overall it's a good thing, but there is a balance, and things like UTMB's kind of rapid growth of the last couple of years is iffy. I think like it just has a danger of going down the like maybe like the Ironman route, where Ironmans, they're massive, great events, but they cost a fortune, and the publicity is really high on them, and I think they're probably not what they started as. I think Ironman now has a partial ownership in UTMB, so that's where the obvious comparison comes from. And there's been some stories of UTMB sort of taking over races or putting races up in areas where there are historic races, who then are losing their I can't remember, like permits for the area and stuff, over in Canada and the States, feels like, and they've had sort of high carbon sponsorships. They've had Dacia as a sponsor for the last few years. That's caused a bit of a ruckus, which I kind of, I appreciate, because when you're a company that runs races in landscapes that UTMB does, we've got two in the UK, being UTS and the Arc Patrician in Cornwall and North Wales. Do you want the front and centre sponsor of that to be a high carbon sponsor? It feels against the nature of the sport. Yeah. So yeah, it's tricky. I think there's good and bad to all of it. I think anything that does elevate the profile and the performance of the sport is great, but we do have to be careful what that elevated exposure does to the roots of the sport and the reputations and the morals of the sport. I think, like I said, with the high carbon thing, that feels against the morals of trail and ultra, because we're here in nature, in landscapes that we want to be protected. So let's maybe not splash a car brand over all the signs. Yeah.
I think a very similar thing happened in like parkour and free running like a few years back, because that's my background, where the FIG, like the International Federation of Gymnastics, was trying to take over parkour as a sport.
Yeah.
And it's like, you compare the two and you can see the similarities of like, they're jumping, doing flips and stuff. But then you look at the sort of like ethics of the sports, and they could not be more different.
Okay.
One's about like freedom and expression, and the other one's all about like set rules and you have to wear certain stuff. And there was this big argument of like, all the practitioners in the sport were divided between, yes, we can get out there, we could get in the Olympics this way, and like the exposure and everything, like you're saying, but then everyone else is like, but you're taking away from what the sport's meant to be.
Yeah.
And my whole thing, because I was a gymnastics coach while also being a free running practitioner, and everyone's like, well, what's your thoughts, Will? Like, you must know loads about it because you're in both worlds. And I was like, you don't have to support that. Like you're saying with UTMB, all of the runners in South Wales, like if they're all against it, they don't have to go and sign up to their events. So you can still sign up to like the Pegasus events and support them and help them grow and keep to that grassroots bit. But if you do want to go there, like you can. And it's all up to like the group morals, I think. Like you're going to have the groups that you're talking about where it's like, no, we don't want the UTMB stuff, it's too commercialised, you've got the high carbon. And then there's going to be other people that are like, I just want the best performance I can in running, I'm going to go and try and make a name for myself. You will get some people that will almost sell out their morals for that. But I think that says more about something as them as a person than it does the sport. But yeah, it is a tricky balance. But for people that are like on the fence with this stuff, I'm like, make your own decision. Like, what do you want from the sport? And then make it that. Like, I came from climbing, as I was saying in Jenks' podcast, where I started climbing way after like the buzz of like the dirtbag lifestyle was, and it was like the competition era of climbing. Just before it was in the Olympics, and it's like I started indoor climbing, and I was like, I don't really like indoor climbing. Like it's fun, it's a bit of good training, but I was like, I really want to try the outdoor stuff. And then I went down the dirtbag road. But I wouldn't have got that if it wasn't for an indoor climbing gym. So like you were saying earlier, like you need that exposure and everything for people to be drawn into the sport. And then it's like, oh, like there's this cool like little subsection where people are like still like living on the trail.
I think that's definitely important. Like, the exposure of those high profile events, if it's bringing people in, great, brilliant. Because if they then go, because I mean, maybe some people would, but usually you don't go, right, I've found ultra running, I know what trail running is, I'm going to do UTMB this year. It's like, well, you're probably not going to do that. I mean, you've got to get in first. But there's XYZ trail running company around the corner. They do these events. Let's go do some of that. So it'll bring people into those companies, really, which is brilliant, because those companies like deserve that. They're always brilliant. I like, smaller local ultra and trail companies are just like, they're the nicest places. I mean, they feel, so far in my experience, it's always like, they've always got great communities around them. And I think we're quite lucky in South Wales. I think the one here is we've got some great companies like Pegasus, Limitless, Run Walk Crawl. They all put on great events in great places, and they're just full of nice people, and they're really supportive of you. It's just a nice place to be. And so the more people that discover that, and even if it is through the bigger races that they've seen on, I mean, maybe it's been on the news for some reason, or it's hit social media for some reason. If it brings them, then brilliant. It's worth it. But I think there is a fine balance now, like, when you're trying to like decide what you want to do with your running, is like, do I, with the high carbon issues, like, I disagree with them having a high carbon sponsor. I'm not a fan of that. Makes me feel kind of weird signing up to a race that does that. But also, like, I do have that performance goal in mind. I want to go and do some of the more competitive races, and they are the more competitive races. So, I mean, like the UTMB scene is something I have done in the past, like UTS and stuff. And it probably is something I will do in the future. But I think that it is something I will do probably quite like sparingly. So I will do one race to qualify, and if I qualify, I will go and do the finals in Chamonix. And it's that I'm not going to go and do the circuit of lots of different ones. I think you can pick and choose, and also support your grassroots home races. I think there's a way to do it both and uphold the morals of the scene that you kind of click with, while also maybe, and I mean, it's like, if you're a higher profile runner who's done them in the past, say you've done UTMB before, you've got a career from it, I mean, brilliant. I think people like that have they don't need to like not go, but they have the space that they can do that, because they've had those races before, and they've sort of got the gains from those races. I think it's a little unfair when people maybe look down on everybody that does those races, because I think people have different stories, people have different ambitions, and I think as long as you can balance it out and recognize the flaws of that company, that race, and be kind of open about it, I think it's okay. Nobody wants to dictate what anybody else does, basically, at the end of the day.
And like, there's always going to be that reason. Like, if you're trying to go pro in ultra running, you have to do those rounds. You have to do those races. Like, that is where the money's at, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But then I also think that, say, people with your sort of morals then go do these races, turn up, do well, go pro and everything, you're going to have more of a voice to be like, this is the change I'd like to see in the sport. Definitely. But you can't do that if you're still just winning local races and like shouting through like a megaphone at companies like, you better change, otherwise I'm not coming. They're like, well, who the fuck are you? Well, everybody else will, so. Whereas if you go and like you make the name, and then you're like, right, this is some changes I'd like to see, or I'll stop coming, they'll be like, oh, but we need you to come, like you're pushing the sport for us, like an ambassador and stuff, and you're like, well, like, let's compromise. Like, it's not going to be black and white, like cut all of the funding to the sport and like all of your sponsorship opportunities. Let's think a bit more reasonably about the impact we're having to the environment and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there is a sway of sort of the more professional elite runners that are doing that. I mean, we've got the green runners in the UK, sort of, that's put together, like Damien Hall, Jasmine Paris, and I think Ali Bailey's part of that now. And and they, they're doing a lot of like raising awareness and doing, petitions and sort of talking to UTMB and bigger races and even, big city marathons about the practices and maybe there's better ways and that kind of stuff. And then you've got, people like Killian Jornet, biggest name in ultra and trail,
leaving Salomon to start his own company that's more environmentally conscious, and they don't make a lot of kit. I think they make like 2 or 3 shoes, and then one of everything else. And it's like, and I've got some pairs of normal shoes, and yeah, they're great. They last. They do everything, and it's nice to know that it's been thought about.
Yeah.
And somebody like that, he's got a massive platform. He's possibly the most, between him, Courtney Dauwalter, and Jim Walmsley, they're the biggest names in ultra running. And I don't think he's been back to UTMB since he made that move, actually. I might be wrong there, but that's the kind of big platform, using it well, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, I also don't begrudge any sort of pro runners that go back to UTMB, because some of them, it's in their contracts, and maybe they're not quite in the position to negotiate that yet. And like I said, it's not the be all and end all with those races. Like, maybe they'll readjust. Maybe it's growing pains, but once the sort of rapid growth has dulled down a bit, maybe they'll start tweaking what they've got, and it'll become a bit more in keeping with the ethos of the sport, really.
Yeah. Hopefully. It'll be nice to see that positive change. I think it's happening everywhere. Like, there is a lot of positive change, but it's so easy to get caught up in the negative. Like, there's always more that can be done, but don't just like, it's almost like, it does feel like sometimes people just search for that.
Oh, gotcha.
It's like,
yeah.
oh, like, it's good that you've made this change, but what about this one? Or what about this one? And it's like, good things are happening. Like, the sport's growing, there's more funding.
Yeah.
Like, there are people, like you're saying, like Killian, that are starting these more sustainable brands, and that's going to keep happening, and keep supporting them, and it'll get bigger. Like, if they start these brands and then everyone's like, yeah, but I'm not going to go to them, then it's like, well,
yeah.
What more do you want?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. There's lots of good going around. Like, I mean, the sport in general is. I just feel like it's a force for good.
Yeah.
Ultra running. It just feels like it's just a good thing that is in the world, And let's hang on to that. Let's not try and dwell. I mean, everything's going to have negative sides, but overall, it's brilliant, and I think that's the most important thing to hang on to, really, and just embrace it.
Yeah. I agree. What's next for you then? You said maybe or maybe not the 14 peaks, but
yeah. So yeah, maybe or maybe not the 14 peaks. If not, I'm slightly tempted to do the Edam.
Okay.
Just because I'm vaguely fascinated with that race for some reason. Something about the Epent in itself is, it's kind of fascinating. Just sort of fancy it, and everyone sort of seems to have horror stories from the Edam, which kind of draws me to it a little bit.
Don't tell me that.
I feel like I've heard everyone just talking about, like, because it's marked with like yellow post tops or something. I think everyone's got an issue with the yellow post tops. I'm not sure. I've never done it. Kind of maybe that. At the moment, I'm sort of, because I only really started to think about possibly not 14 peaks recently. I was always leaving the back end of the year open, because on the very, very slim chance I did very good at 14 peaks and made a team, then I would need September free. So I hadn't put anything in stone. I've been looking at the South Wales Traverse for quite a number of years now, just because it's a route that I find quite, inspiring. So South Wales Traverse it's across the Brecon Beacons. It's basically west to east on the beacons, and you do, I think it's all the summits over 610 metres. So there's 31 of them. So you start on the west, finish on the east, although I think you can go the other way. It's about 120k-ish, give or take, because it's there is no defined route. You just have to go to all the summits.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of been in my head for a number of years, just because I just think it's a really cool route. If you look at it on a map, it's this amazing line that just goes all the way across the national park. So yeah, I'm kind of toying with the idea of setting that up for the autumn, so late summer, potentially. I have a spreadsheet that I've started building. It's for like times and ideas for stuff. So yeah, I mean, maybe that would be as an FKT attempt, although the FKT is very stout and established. That's a Damien Hall FKT. I think it was previously held by Dan Doherty Dan Doherty, I think so. Who is also from Brecon, I think. Again, very good time, very good runner, sort of international for Ireland. Like, it's a good record. It's a very intimidating record. I have no idea if I could get anywhere near it, but I'd maybe like to have a go. I think it kind of suits me. Like, I know the area well. I love running in the beacons. And I kind of see it as maybe like an opportunity to like get involved a bit more with like South Wales running community. I think, like I said before, it took me a while to start doing local races, and I still sort of feel like I'm like kind of slightly on the outside of the community because I'm not the most social person in the world. I'm quite quiet. I'm quite shy. I find group situations wildly stressful. So yeah, I've been trying to like slowly like meander my way in, sort of like little chats with people at start lines and finishes, the odd like Instagram message and bits and bobs, you know, that kind of thing. And what I like about FKT stuff is that you can have people in, they can come and do a bit of section with you, do a bit of running, maybe help out on the crew. And my kind of idea would be to maybe reach out a little bit and be like, does anyone fancy doing this section? Does anyone fancy doing this, doing that? Come in for recce's, that kind of thing.
Well, I know a few listeners that are keen for this sort of stuff. So
yeah.
If you do set it up, like, make sure you go and follow him, guys, because he's going to need a hand.
Yeah, I will need a hand. So yeah, I'm kind of like thinking about that, and I'm quite excited about the idea. And you know, so my partner and I are sort of, you know, we want to start a family and stuff, and you know, things are becoming more adult in my life. And I think before that sort of all hits properly, it would be great to, you know, FKT's obviously there's something you can do when you have that sort of life, you have a family, but maybe a little more difficult to organise when it's just the two of us, you know. So maybe now's the time to have a go. So yeah, that would be something that's on the horizon. Otherwise, I will probably pick some races in September or November. Just to see how I go. I feel like I need to recover from this injury properly, and it was such a silly injury. I just fell over on a run in Smack Mini, and my knee blew up for 3 weeks. It's like, it's not even a kind of I did too much or I did something a bit daft and trained too hard. I just fell over. I feel like a child. I've got a cut knee and I can't run. But now I can run, but it's not feeling the same. So yeah, I think I might need a bit of time. Just get back to feeling good properly, and then get a big goal and go for it, really. Yeah. So yeah, potential FKT, also some potential races in the autumn. But yeah, we'll see, I guess.
I'm excited to see whatever you do decide to do.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's going to be something amazing. I've got no doubt there.
Yeah, cheers, man. Yeah, it's a, you know, an adventure, I guess. Like, just trying to like improve and find your way through the sport, and yeah, it's just, you know, yeah, and the sport that is brilliant and that is becomes kind of your lifestyle in a way. Like, I think, you know, plenty of sports become people's lifestyle, but I think ultra running really gets in there. It really gets its hooks in.
It's the amount of time you have to dedicate to it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you can go and play like recreational football for like a Sunday league or whatever, and you know, you're there maybe like 3-4 hours a week, like having a kickabout. But then ultra running, it's like, yeah, like 3-4 hours. That's one run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, do you know anybody who runs ultras who's like casually into ultras? Everybody's like, it's like at least 3/4 of their personality.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel like a casual thing you do like on a Wednesday night or something. It's like people go there, and I love that about it. And I love that about, like, you know, the community you get around ultra runners. Everybody's in, and they love it, and they also kind of hate it at the same time. As you know, we all do. We all have those moments. We're like, what the heck? Why am I doing this? I remember I did a training run probably quite a while back now, up in Snowdonia, coming off Trifan and going up. There's a horrible scree climb that goes up to the Glidders from Trifan. I remember going up there, and I called my partner because I was just having a rough time. And Jonathan, I was like, why do I do this sport? This is stupid. Why am I here? And then 20 minutes later, I was loving it.
Yeah.
And just, I do feel that really sums up ultra running sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You're going to have your ups and downs, like, in a race, constantly. That's just, yeah. When I started, I was just like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Oh no, it's awful. And then I would just stay in that hole because, like, I hadn't trained enough and I hadn't fueled and I'd just, like, bonked. But, like, if you're, like, really into it and you train properly and you fuel properly, you're still going to go in and out of it. But, like, it is more of an in and out and not like a, yay, oh, crash.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, like you were saying, like, this sucks, why am I here? And then you get to the top, it's like, oh, okay, this is why I'm here. This is fun again.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it happens every race. I feel like there's a point in every race you're like, I paid for this. Why? This is idiotic. And, you know, it always happens, but it goes quickly. I mean, sometimes it can last a while. Like, let's be fair. I feel like the longer the race is, the longer it lasts and the more times it comes around.
Yeah.
But it goes away, and it'll definitely go away at the finish line, and you will forget how much it hurt within 24 hours. And
when you're on your phone signing up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what can I do next? Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think the first time I DNF'd UTS, I was in a state. I was just like distraught about it, which is a bit daft, really. But then I think they released the entries the week after, and I bought an early bird entry for the next year. And I DNF'd it again. So, just chill out with that race for a while. I think, that was my kind of like, I must go further, like, mentality for a while. Yeah. I think it was, I was just like, right, I've done 100k, now I have to do 100 miles. I've done 100 miles, I'll do a mountainous 100 miler. But yeah, I've taught myself off that now. I think I've decided that let's get good at being faster before we go back up the distances. Yeah. And I think at the moment, I love a 50k. It's kind of that, like, 50k to 50 mile. It's fast, but it's not really fast. And it's long enough that it feels like exploring, it feels like adventure. And I think that's the sweet point right now. 100k, I love 100k. I think that, but at the moment I've tried to, like, rein in that, like, want to go further, because I think lots of people get that. I mean, case in point is the slightly mad people that did the Wild Horse the other week, which is a race that absolutely fascinates me. I did some volunteering this year and I loved it, and they all looked so wrecked at checkpoint 8. But, like, what baffled me, I can't get my head around how people will come in and they look wrecked. I mean, some of them actually look pretty good, but, you know, they're a long way in, they're very tired, and then they go to sleep for a couple of hours, and then they get up and carry on. I was like, how do you go to sleep and then get back out and do another, I think it's like another 60 miles or something after that? That baffles me. I was just like, these people are incredible. Like, they're just so, they've just got such, like, will, and yeah, it's amazing. I love that experience, actually, and it is a race that just fascinates me, and a race that I feel like I'll probably need to do one day, just because it's like it's lodged itself in my brain as a thing. I'm just like, that's really cool. But also, I don't want to run 200 miles right now. Or I do what I don't. Like, it's not the focus. I think Nathan Hutton, I think I chatted to him about it, and he was just like, oh yeah, you should do it. You should do it. You'll be great at it. And I'm just like, oh, that's not the plan, man. And he was like, fuck the plan. He's just like, yo, you would say that, wouldn't you? Yeah. No.
I love Nathan.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, and like seeing like Natalie in when the women's race this year, and just like smash that course. I just like couldn't, like, she's a brilliant runner. Like, you know, been around like the Pegasus stuff, you know, she's cleaning up, brilliant runner, lovely person. And it's just, I loved watching that, just that little dot just move across the country. I just thinking, she is out there doing that right now. And all of those little dots moving along. I just think that world of 200 mile plus or 100 mile plus running is like fascinating. It's just like terrifying. Yeah, maybe one day.
One day. Everyone keeps trying to talk me into it, and I'm just like, it just doesn't appeal to me.
No?
Maybe one day it will, but right now, like, I don't have that same, like, it's in my head now. Because once I get that, then I'm like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But, like, everyone suggested it, and usually when people suggest stuff, I'm like, okay, no, I'm listening.
Yeah.
That's how my 6 and 6 started, was Jenks being like, how about this, Will? And I was like, oh my god, why?
Why have you said that to
Why?
me?
It's there now. Like, that same day I voice noted Reese, and I was just like, Reese, I've got this idea, and then it's like snowballed from there, and 7 weeks time I'll be doing it. But like,
Yeah.
when people said it to me, I was expecting someone to bring it up at some point, and I was like waiting for that. Shit, now I have to do it. But
Yeah.
I haven't had that, and I'm like, okay, this isn't one for me. Like, I'll leave that.
Okay.
Leave that for other people.
Yeah.
And I think that surprised a lot of people, because they're like, well, I'll do anything. And I'm just like, no,
I draw the line at 200 miles. Yeah. No, the 6 and 6 is going to be really cool. I just think it's a great idea, like linking all those races together. I'm just wondering how they're going to, like, because you're doing them in the order that they come up in the season.
Yeah.
So you're Canham, Howham,
Bogham, Pigham,
Pigham.
Edam, Ridham. I finally learnt the order.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself. It's only taken me, 6 months to learn the order, but I'm there now.
That little set, that Pigham, Edam is going to be hard work, I think. But then the Vogham is sneaky, because it's like, 'cause you don't have all the elevation, but there's a lot of running. There's just a lot of like little ups and downs.
That's the one I'm looking forward to the least.
The Vogham? Really?
I just don't like the idea of coastal running.
Oh, really? Okay.
I actually really like the idea of the Canham.
Yeah.
I told myself I want to do the Canham properly next year. And everyone's like, that's the one that's the worst.
Yeah, everybody hates the
Running
Canham,
down
don't they?
canal. And I'm like, I don't mind that. And then everyone was telling me, because I'm in like the Slammers group chat, and I get like all the inside info off of them. I do get massive FOMO from the group, but I'm like, I could be there with you guys. But yeah, then when they were going on about the Howham, they're like, oh, that was too much fire roads, and I was like, I quite like a fire road.
I love a fire road. Big fan of a fire road. I'm
like, I think I'll quite like the Howham. And then I went to volunteer at the Vogham, and I was just like, yeah, no, not for me. I'm not excited for it. And then people are saying like Pigham's quite hilly.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that sounds nice. And then Edam, obviously, like massively hilly. So I'm like, okay, that one sounds fun too.
Yeah.
And I've done the Ridham, and I love the Ridham. So I'm like, okay, like that's going to be like the good stuff. But the Vogham, I'm just like, no.
Okay. No. Yeah, you will get sand in your shoes immediately on the Vogham. Which is, just starting on a beach, man. It's just immediate sand, and then all the way through the dunes, and yeah. But yeah, I think that Pigham, Edam, Ridham could be. I've never done the Ridham actually. I've done like bits of like, I think I've done little bits of the course, just running around.
Yeah.
I don't really know that course. I feel like I know the other ones even if I haven't done them. So I'm just aware of the course. But yeah, the Ridham is a slight mystery to me. I don't think I've ever really looked at it that much. But yeah, Pigham is quite punchy. It's just 3 big climbs really. You do Blorange, and then you do, I think it's Llangattock Escarpment, like to the Lonely Shepherd, and then you finish on Sugarloaf. But the bits in between are really nice and runnable, and the downhills are really nice and runnable.
I don't know how much I'll be running. By
yeah, because you'll be 4 in it though. Yeah,
4 in, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. What's the total distance on them?
230 odd miles
in 6 days.
Yeah, and like over 8,000 meters elevation, and it's the elevation that was scaring me the most.
Okay.
Because I did like, everyone was like, oh yeah, you've got it, because I ran 50k with my friend Harry from like Bristol Bridge to Cardiff, and then the next day I did the Big Moose Ultra, which is just round Butte Park.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so I've done back-to-back ultras, and I felt fine after it, but they were both flat, and I'm like, how am I going to deal with the elevation?
I think the elevation is, well, maybe not easier, it's different.
Yeah.
I think I find that, like, particularly like if you're going to do something the next day, flat running beats me personally up a lot more. I feel worse after running flat.
Mountains wreck me.
Really? I think it's maybe it's just
surprise people, because my background's like strength training, so they're like, you've got really good like squats, and like your legs are so strong, And I'm like, yeah, and they just get wrecked on the mountain. Like when I did the Ridham last year, like, well, most ultras that I've done, like my legs blow up. It's never like my cardio or anything.
Yeah.
And it's always the hills that get me. And I'm just like, this isn't okay. So doing like 5 of the 6, which are very hilly courses, I'm like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah. I'm definitely opposite. Like if I spend more time in the hills, my legs feel less beat up than they would if I've done flat running. Like I did the my first ever like running club race last week. I did the Welsh Castles relay for Brecon Athletics. I did the stage 16, which is Brecon to Torpenta, which is like up there, you know, the sweepy fire track up along Talabont. Which is that section. Yeah, love that climb actually. But until you get there, it's all like flat, slightly rolling road, and it absolutely wrecked my calves. Like I do some flat running and I do some fast flat running sometimes, but I never do like prolonged. I was just like, this is horrible. I just like, please. I was just like, I want to get to the climb so I can like change the angle. Let me go uphill, please.
Yeah. See, I do love an uphill, but that is what kills me. Like downhill, great at, love a downhill, really good at a downhill. Flats, I'm like, yeah, okay, like I can do it. It's boring, but I can do it. I love an uphill, but it's like if you're saying like Blorange start the Pigham, that's gonna wreck me for the rest of it.
It is quite a steep climb, that.
It wouldn't be like if I was like trying to choose a race to like actually race. If that's the start, like I wouldn't be choosing that as my race. I'd be like, no, okay, I'll do something else. I'd probably choose the Canham if I was going to race one of the events, just because it's flat.
Yeah, despite it being probably not my like forte, I am also quite intrigued by the Canham because I would just kind of want to just see what happened, just see what I could do.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know, just have a blast at it. But yeah, definitely, I feel like I would just have to like go in like the Zen zone, just zone out and be like, right. I mean, I know it's quite pretty, the canal, really, but it's not the most interesting terrain in the world. No. So yeah.
I'm good at that zoning out. Head down, crack on.
Yeah, I need a view.
So. All right, well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's all right. And thanks, Lee, for the recommendation.
Oh, yeah, cheers.
I'm excited to see what you do next, and make sure you follow along, guys, because I can imagine it's something incredible. I really want you to do the FKT. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah,
I'm excited, but also nervous about it. I haven't really told anybody. I was thinking about it, but apart from my partner, I'm just like, do you think I should do this? She'd be like, yeah, sounds nice. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do it then.
So it's on a podcast.
It's on a podcast now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is better get. Message me afterwards. Me like, can you take the FKT?
Yeah, please take the FKT out. No, I think that's gonna be cool. I'm gonna get out and do some recce's, I think, and then make the final decision. Because if the recce's aren't feeling great, maybe it's not the time. But I would love for it to be the time. So that's the plan.
Yeah, thanks again, and I look forward to seeing what you do.
Yeah, cheers, man.
What an incredible podcast with an incredible person. I definitely recommend following along with Ellis and everything that he's doing in the future. It's definitely worth seeing where he takes this all and supporting him. And if you want to help encourage him to become part of the community a bit more, then head over to his Instagram, drop him a message, let him know that you've listened to the podcast. I think he'll really appreciate it. And if you want to donate to my fundraising, then head to the link in the description below where I'll link my fundraiser. I've just completed Tennyfan with George and Rose, my sponsored athletes. We did it on the weekend, literally the weekend before this is being released. So yeah, we had an amazing time. Absolutely smashed it. We all broke in different places, so seeing that dynamic was quite interesting. And yeah, like it's definitely something that I think is worth at least £1. So if you've got anything to spare, or if you want to support in any way, let me know. And yeah, we'll see what we can sort out. But until next time, guys.